The marble floor of the city courthouse gleamed under the morning light, but no one noticed the man kneeling by the hallway corner, polishing it until he could see his reflection. That man was David Cole, the courthouse janitor. His hands were cracked from years of labor, and his faded blue uniform hung loosely on his wiry frame. But even as others hurried past him without a glance, his eyes carried quiet pride. "Morning, Mr. Cole," said one security guard kindly. "Morning, Tim," he replied, smiling faintly as he dipped his mop again. Down the hallway, laughter echoed. A group of young law interns in crisp suits walked by. One of them, a tall blonde girl, whispered loudly, "Can you imagine being his kid? The smell of bleach following you to school every day." The group chuckled cruelly. David pretended not to hear, but as he wrung out his mop, his mind drifted to his daughter Ella. She was the reason he worked double shifts, the reason he endured humiliation without complaint. Ever since her mother passed away, Ella had been his world, a bright, curious girl who studied by candlelight while he cleaned empty offices. That night, when David got home to their small rented apartment, Ella was still awake at her desk, books piled high. "Dad, you're home," she smiled, her eyes tired but full of life. He kissed her forehead. "Don't stay up too late, Ellie." "I have to," she said. "One day I'm going to stand in that courthouse, not as a janitor's daughter, but as a lawyer." David's hands froze midair. Then he smiled proudly. "Then I'll make sure those floors shine just for you." Years passed. Ella earned a scholarship to law school, her brilliance undeniable, though her background made her a constant target. In the cafeteria, whispers followed her like shadows. "Isn't she the janitor's kid?" She only got in because of sympathy programs. "Her father cleans the same building we'll argue cases in. Poetic, isn't it?" Each comment stung, but Ella learned to swallow her pride. At night, she worked part-time at a diner, wiping tables while memorizing case law notes taped to the counter. Her father's health began to fail, but he never let her see his weakness. "Don't worry about me," he said, coughing lightly. "You just focus on those books." When graduation day arrived, Ella wore her robe with trembling hands. Her classmates took pictures in groups, laughing and hugging, while she stood alone in the back row. From the last seat in the auditorium, David watched with tear-filled eyes. As the dean called her name, "Ella Cole, Juris Doctor," she walked across the stage to polite applause. But for David, that moment was worth every sleepless night and aching muscle. He whispered softly, "You did it, baby girl." Ella's first job wasn't glamorous. No law firm wanted to hire a janitor's daughter with no connections. So she took small public defense cases, those no one else wanted. One morning, she received a call from the courthouse clerk. "Ella Cole, there's a pro bono case you might want to see. The accused can't afford a lawyer." When she walked into the courtroom, her heart stopped. Sitting at the defense table was her father. David Cole had been arrested for a crime he didn't commit, accused of stealing valuable documents from the courthouse archives. The same people who used to ignore him now whispered judgment. "Of course the janitor did it," one officer muttered. "Who else has access?" Ella's hands shook. "Dad," she whispered as she sat beside him. He looked up, ashamed. "Ellie, don't, this isn't your fight." "Yes, it is," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm your lawyer." The courtroom buzzed with murmurs when Ella entered in her plain black suit. "Wait, she's representing him. The janitor's daughter is his lawyer? This should be good," someone sneered. The prosecutor, Mr. Halpern, a man with a sharp jaw and sharper ego, smirked across the aisle. "Miss Cole," he said, adjusting his tie, "I trust this isn't your first case." "It's my first of many," she replied calmly. The judge called for silence. Ella began her opening statement, her voice steady despite the tremors in her hands. "My client, David Cole, has spent his life serving this courthouse, literally. He's cleaned its floors, scrubbed its walls, and respected its laws. To accuse him of stealing from this place is not only unjust, it's cruel." Some jurors shifted uncomfortably. Others looked unimpressed. But Ella continued, determined. The prosecution presented damning evidence, security footage showing a man in a janitor's uniform near the archive room. Halpern smirked. "The defense rests." Ella stood tall. "Not even close." For days, Ella reviewed every frame of the footage. Something felt wrong. At 2 a.m., she noticed it, a reflection in the window behind the figure. She paused the video, zoomed in, and gasped. The man in the janitor's uniform had a tattoo on his wrist. Her father didn't. The next day in court, she stood before the judge. "Your Honor, I request to present new evidence." Halpern scoffed. "Desperate move, counselor." "Truth doesn't need desperation," she replied sharply. The courtroom lights dimmed as she projected the footage. "Please note the reflection on the right," she said. "The thief has a serpent tattoo, a mark my client does not possess." She approached the bench, rolling up her father's sleeve to reveal clean, scarred skin, but no tattoo. The room fell silent. Halpern's confident smile vanished. The judge leaned forward. "Do you have proof of who this other person is?" Ella nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." A subcontracted maintenance worker hired by the courthouse 2 weeks before the theft. The courtroom erupted. The police investigation confirmed Ella's claim. The real culprit, a temporary worker with a record of theft, had fled town. David was cleared of all charges. As the judge struck his gavel, he looked at Ella with admiration. "Miss Cole," he said, "you've done your father proud. You've done this court proud." David's eyes glistened as he hugged her tightly. "You saved me, Ellie." "No, Dad," she whispered. "You saved me long ago, when you taught me never to give up." Reporters rushed to cover the story. Headlines read, "Janitor's daughter defends father, wins case against all odds." The same people who once laughed at her now wanted interviews, photos, endorsements. But Ella refused fame. "I didn't do it for the world," she said. "I did it for the man who taught me what dignity really means." Months later, the courthouse hosted an awards ceremony for young lawyers. As Ella stood near the podium, she looked around, the same hallways where her father once mopped floors. The janitorial staff lined the back wall, watching proudly. David, though retired, sat among them. When the chief judge announced, "This year's award for outstanding service and justice goes to Ella Cole," the crowd erupted in applause. Tears filled her eyes as she walked to the stage. She spotted her father in the audience, smiling, the same humble smile he wore every day of his life. She lifted the plaque and said, "This honor isn't mine alone. It belongs to every person who was ever told they weren't enough because of where they came from or what their parents did. My father may have cleaned this courthouse, but today, I hope I helped cleanse it of its prejudice." The audience rose to their feet. David wiped his tears, whispering, "That's my girl." Outside, the marble floor still gleamed, the reflection of both a janitor and a lawyer forever etched in its shine.